listen, in this business, if you don't own your own stuff, your successes, your failures, your mistakes, all that kind of stuff, you're just probably trouble waiting to happen if it hasn't happened already. To your
Mhm.
point though about, okay, let's talk a little bit about, constantly comparing yourself to other people. I'm not saying that we shouldn't look to emulate those who have gone before us. Obviously, we're on
Yeah.
IBD here for a reason. I've read O'Neill's books many times,
Mhm.
and guys like him and Minervini and David Ryan, and we could list so many others. There's a reason why we gravitate towards certain things. What I'm referring to though is it's sort of that unhealthy comparing, and you use the example, say when you have kids and that type of thing. Look, don't don't compare yourself to your brother, your sister, or whatever. We're talking about you. If you've ever had a
Mhm.
conversation with a kid about anything, um, because what winds up happening when we do that is we're never focused on where the real problems or the successes are, which is
Mhm.
within us in terms of. And look, as the reason we own our own results in this business is who else is going to have them? Well, you can't give your losses. Nobody wants to give their gains to anyone else. They'd love to hand their losses off, but that's not how this works. And there's two sides of the coin. The reality, of course, is the gains have a way of taking care of themselves if you manage the downside. But it's that managing the downside part is often quite difficult. So
Yeah.
candidly, with all the cards on the table, it's like, look, we're down a few percent right now, but we're sitting right below all time highs.
Mhm.
Where else would you want to be
Yeah.
when things aren't going well? It's been frustrated, and we can get into, have we made mistakes? Have we broken rules? All the answer is no. But um, how do you deal with that situation? Well, I take a step back. I go, what does it matter what other people are doing? And
Mhm.
actually, even coming in the opposite spirit, rather than being tempted towards jealousy or comparing, saying, "Hey, God bless those people," or whatever. I hope they're killing it. They're having their turn at the wheel. Mine will come.
Mhm.
Because even within a strategy like growth or momentum, there's a lot of lanes on that highway where some people trade a lot more often. Some people are more position traders, very short term. I know a number of traders doing better than me this year. That's great. Good for them. My
Mhm.
turn's going to come. Um, I can explain why it's been more of a struggle, but the reality is if you don't get comfortable in that, you may even do well and you'll never really be you'll never enjoy any of it because you're always when times are good, you're going to wish you did better than somebody or you did as well as someone who maybe did better than you.
Yeah.
And when they're bad, it's even worse because, or you're flat, you're down a little bit. You're kicking yourself 6 ways to Sunday and twice on Sunday that you're not the guy who's, again, always up, rather than
Mhm.
asking yourself, "Am I compounding good decisions? If I
Yeah.
continue to do what I'm doing or making these type of risk reward decisions," because whenever you're playing a game of probabilities, inevitably there'll be periods where you do everything right and things still don't go your way.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
there's a number of of things, of ditches we fall into, but the biggest reason I would suggest to anybody newer in really in trading or investing at all is the temptation then becomes to maybe I should do something else rather than stick with what is a good approach. And
Mhm.
so it's that comparing within regular life is the thief of joy. In trading in markets, it's usually the thief of returns because what winds up happening is you chase whatever strategy's hot. And the minute I jump into, well, breakouts weren't working, I'll go to mean reversion. And then you start fading them, and that's when you get run over. Well, I'll try trend following, systematically, and then that doesn't work. And then I go to stat arb or whatever. I mean, there's so many other different. I'll try value. I'll try this thing, whatever's hot. Well, and listen, there's been enough written on this, but everybody has to kind of again go through enough periods, even within a strategy. Every strategy that's even good is gonna have periods where it underperforms. That's actually a good thing
Yeah.
if you're a good practitioner because it's that stress point and those pain points that actually weed out the less disciplined players and those that probably aren't going to make it in the long run unless they make some of the adjustments that we talk about.
Mhm. And I think that's the big thing, right? Is you have to be very careful of looking too short term and kind of losing the forest for the trees, where if your long term is okay, and again, you haven't taken a big drawdown, you're still in a position where you're close to highs, you can still get, back in the game very easily. That's a lot more important than chasing so many different things, and then, letting the frustration kind of, what poker players would call, put you on tilt, to the point where now you've gotten yourself into a hole that you have to dig yourself out of, and then the problems really compound to the downside, and that's not what we want. We want things to compound to the upside, not to the downside. So,
Yeah, and one thing I often, or way I describe it sometimes, is thinking about this in terms of your financial capital and your emotional capital.
mhm,
Because if it should, you want it to feel worse than it is when you're in a losing period. Meaning,
mhm,
you want to be really frustrated and annoyed, but not be down much in terms of actual capital. You show me somebody who's frustrated, upset, or whatever, and is down 2%. That's probably someone who is much more likely to not just be to come out of that drawdown and be successful, but is much more in sync with their emotions in terms of the strategy and how they all marry together. And look, the guy or gal who is super confident and taking big positions when they're 25% off highs is a potential disaster waiting to happen.
right.
Or that person that's on a string of losses and is just, they're stepping to the plate with confidence and swinging for the fence. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Mhm,
time, time out. Let's take a step back here.
mhm,
So yeah, absolutely. And the other point I wanted to make, though, is this idea of like, if your confidence is dealt such a blow that you can't follow your process, that's when you
mhm.
have a really big problem.